Is it loading through? It did. It loaded through. There we go. Hello. I know. I'm starting off really good. I was running around. I know. Welcome. Hello. Are you guys ready for volume 4? I know I am. It's gonna be so fun. But no, dude, I was like doing something and then I like look up and I was like, oh my god, it's time for me to go. It's not a mega hat. It's not a mega hat. I feel like it always fucking does this. It does that every single time. Every single time, it'll pause for like 30 minutes. Not 30 minutes. 30 seconds. Like 10 seconds. And then it'll go again. So, we'll see what happens. Okay. We're on chapter 733. The Return. Also transparent. Can we start really quickly before the finished artwork from last night? Beautiful. Could not have done anything better myself. Or seen anything better. It was wonderful. It was so wonderful. I loved it. I don't know. Well, Kami's here, so I feel like somebody will get censored by somebody at some point. Who knows? How old does a vampire need to be for it not to be weird for them to bait a 20-year-old? I think, here's my, like, personal opinion on, like, those. I feel like once someone's frontal lobe develops, so, like, once they hit, like, 26, then, you know, it's not weird. Anytime before that, their brain is still developing. So, you know, or, fuck what I just said. Kami seems to have the answer right there, you know? There you go. Okay, chapter 733, The Return. What do you mean? Fun fact, I've never actually watched Twilight. Nope. Chapter 733. The Return. Under the persistent rain, mingled with the thin fog, the rose... Okay, well, I still think, like, 25 is a good cutoff, you know? 25 is a good cutoff. Anything under that, I'm like... Okay. I'll probably do... I don't know how many chapters I'll do. I'll probably only do, like, a few. We'll see what happens. We'll see how many we get through. Normally we get through about, like, 5 to 7. So, probably finish... Actually, you know, if we finish at chapter 740, I feel like that's a good spot to finish. And then we can keep going from there. It could be anywhere between 2 and 12 chapters. This is very true. Okay. Under the persistent rain mingled with the thin fog, the rows of street lamps tried their hardest to shine through the mist. The occasional horse carriage that proceeded down the streets was a common evening sight in Backland. All right, we're back in Backland. Are we ever gonna leave this fucking kingdom? Like, are we ever gonna go to Intis? Not that, like, you know, only bring up Intis because we've heard about it. I'm just curious if we're ever gonna go there. You know? No other reason. Apart from these, Klein... Yeah, I know we went to the Sonia Sea, but we were still, like, in Backland territory, you know? Klein noted a few gratifying changes while standing behind the window. The crisp sound echoed in the air as a two-wheeled mechanical device rushed down the street. The bicycle! Oh my god! The bicycle! A mechanical device brushed down the side of the street and the other end of the street. Its frame was black in color with some parts revealing grayish white steel under the illumination of the street. Lamps and rain, it sparkled with the beauty of metal. On this device sat a man dressed in a postman's uniform. Oh, there's not that many. This one's not as big as the last one. The postman's uniform. He kept pedaling with his legs, apparently using a great deal of strength. Behind him was a wooden box that had been painted in green. It's being promoted very well. The white shirt, black-vested, mature-looking client. The white-shirted, black-vested, mature-looking Klein sighed inwardly when he saw this scene. In a few hours within his return to Backlund, he noticed many similar mechanical devices, and they were none other than the bicycles that he had promoted and invested in. From the newspapers, Klein knew that the Backlund Bike Company had done tons of advertisements. It even held the bicycle competition in boroughs like Cherrywood and Backlund Bridge. So, as to garner the attention of others, apart from that, they also actively promoted in the government departments, such as the postal service and the police departments. The results were said to be pretty good. Their piercing strategies had followed Klein's original suggestion, avoiding the upper middle. This is already written so much better. Just the pacing between paragraphs. I'll see how the rest of it goes, but even like the first 3 pages that I've read, it's already written better. You can see his writing improve each volume, and this one I can already tell is better than volume 3, which was a massive improvement from volume 2 and 1. Instead, they aimed their target audience at those with weekly salaries of £1 to 10 solly and above. Such a tactical work era, students with a decent family background, and okay, well, the translator is better this time around. I do wonder how the original reads. I should learn Mandarin so that I can read it in the original. Therefore, the bike worth £3 to £5 is affordable to the people in this demographic. If they bit the bullet a little, and at the same time they could flaunt their masses who had incomes that were lower than them, the current issue is that Backlund often rams its difficulty to hold the umbrella while riding the bike, or it often rains. I had something on my screen and it looked like rams. The next step should be a raincoat. Klein retracted his gaze, shook his head, and chuckled. In the place he stayed at, a high-end hotel in the Hillston borough, it cost him 10 solly a night, making him feel quite the pinch. However, to match his persona, all he could do was bite the bullet and put up with it. His idea... I'm so excited. His idea of Dwayne Dantes was that he was a believer of the Evernight goddess. Going back to his roots, let's go. And oh my god, that means he's a feminist. Okay. Mysterious tycoon that came from Desi Bay. He had sold his original land and mines, planning to seek out brand new opportunities in Backlund. He had a certain level of interest in obtaining the aristocratic title, but he didn't have the abundant wealth to do so. He had to first expand his social circle and begin making some investments. The benefits of the identity was that it was clearly different from the characters Klein had previously acted as. It allowed him to very naturally interact with people from the middle upper class, especially members of the military office club and the Backlund diocese bishop of the Church of Evernight Goddess. It made it convenient for Klein to continue his investigations into the great smog of Backlund while gathering intel before he made detailed plans to steal the Antigonus family notebook. There were obvious disadvantages as well, such as Mysterious Tycoon would definitely catch the notice of Nighthawks and mandated punishers, so there was a certain level of background checks that he would have to undergo. According to Klein's experience, such an investigation would be done by the official Beyonder organizations, under the premise that nothing important had happened. It could also be handed over to the police department, but in summary, not too much effort would be put into it, as it would be considered a routine check. Therefore, Klein, who was considered quite an expert in disguises, had prepared a second layer to identify as Dwayne Dantes to his designs so as to deal with the background inspections. The second layer to his identity was that Dwayne Dantes was a person who had adventured in the southern continent, East and West Balam, for some particular reason. He had used a nickname, and he spent more than 10 years in the rather dangerous land filled with opportunity in order to amass a great deal of wealth. Since the origin of his wealth wasn't overboarded, he had secretly returned to Desi Pay, and he forged a new identity. He had planned on beginning a new life in Backland and gradually legalized his wealth. It wasn't rare to see such people in Lowen. Their stories were acceptable and imaginable for an investigation for this identity layer. Klein had left some inconspicuous clues on Conant City so as to indirectly reveal the truth. These clues included, but were not limited to, the stubs of his scalp tickets from eastbound to Conant City, habits as a result of living in the southern continent in extended periods of time, as well as his wealth of unknown origins. Klein believed that as long as Dwayne Dantes didn't involve himself in any serious Beyonder matters, preparations such as these were enough to fool most routine background inspections. And if he encountered an extremely dedicated official Beyonder who investigated it, all the while, and was even willing to seek the help of a colleague from the southern continent, then Dwayne Dantes had a third layer. It was that he was a cheat who had anti-divination measures to a certain degree. He disguised himself as a mysterious tycoon and spent large amounts of money in investments for the final scam. This identity was enough to get Dwayne Dantes arrested, but the level of attention placed on him wouldn't be too great. This allowed Klein to exit the stage without much trouble. Compared to my first time in Backland, the creation of the three-layered identity shows how I've really matured significantly. Klein slowly walked to the middle of the room as he cast his gaze on a full-body mirror in the corner. His reflection had black hair and some strands of gray hair. His eyes were deep, but his experiences had left undeniable marks on his face. He was a charming middle-aged man with mature bearing. The design of Dwayne Dantes' identity wasn't difficult for the present Klein. However, stealing the Antigonus family notebook from behind St. Samuel's Cathedral Channa's gate was a particularly impossible task for the external Beyonder. Even the King of Angels couldn't guarantee success. Of course, unlike any other Beyonders, Klein, who had advantages first, he was once a Nighthawk. He had quite a good understanding of the internal procedures they followed, and he knew which matters he could exploit. Therefore, the first solution he eliminated was to become a particular Nighthawk, infiltrate it, and find a chance to pass through Channa's gate. There was a problem that existed in the Nighthawks. Nighthawks weren't able to randomly enter Channa's Gate, even for the captains of the deacons. Something had to happen first before they received the corresponding authority. Furthermore, Channa's Gate had its keepers inside, randomly entering or taking things with the result of attacking or him, causing a battle to break out. Klein didn't wish for the thief to result in any deaths or injuries to the members of the Church of the Goddess. After careful consideration, he placed his sights on the keepers. The elders were retired Nighthawks who volunteered to enter Channa's Gate. They were in charge of watching the sealed artifacts, and they were from a different department of the Nighthawks. They had turned and exited using underground passageways to the cathedral, and they never interfered with the Nighthawks' work, nor would they be disturbed by the Nighthawks. Perhaps a result of staying behind Channa's Gate for an extended period of time, these keepers all had certain traits they had cold auras and a deadpan expression. Their skin was pale, and they resembled monsters from the deep darkness who were on the border of life and death. Klein believed that it wasn't difficult for him to locate his target if he met one. His initial plan was to rent the place in Northborough St. Samuel Cathedral. He would hire a butler and valet, a maidservant, gardener, and a chef, and a carriage driver to have the front as a tycoon. Then he would often head to the cathedral and pray piously, participate in mass, donate money, and familiarize himself with bishops and priests. During this process, he would work hard and find suspected keepers. He would choose 2 to 3 targets and observe their habits. When the opportunity arises, he would imprison one of them, change into their appearance, and directly pose as them, pass through Channa's Gate, and attempt to flip through take the Antigonus family's notebook away. David, hello. This is a very crude plan, and it was merely a train of thought. It needed to be perfected according to the intelligence Klein would slowly acquire. For this matter, so I'm assuming Klein's gonna see, we're gonna get Leonard again. We're gonna get more Leonard in this volume. And then I'm also assuming that we're probably gonna get some Dally in this volume because we're in Backland, and we haven't gotten too much of them. But here's the thing. I think that volume 4, because we're in Backland, and I do really think that this will be our last volume until maybe the end in Backland and the Lowen Kingdom. I think we will move on finally from this section of the world. after this, so I feel like we're gonna tie up a lot of loose ends in this volume to do with like Leonard, and of course I'm thinking of Leonard and Dally and probably Melissa and Benson and just kind of all of that before we move on to something else, you know? For this matter, Klein's second advantage was the Tarot Club. Dude, Bullseye, you're the first person I've seen who says that this is not one of, if not, their favorite album. Or not album, volume. From, what was I saying? For this matter, Klein's second advantage was the Tarot Club. He had his... Really? You didn't like this one either? Oh my god. Everybody always says that this is like one of the best ones. He had assistants that the Church of the Evernight Goddess and Nighthawks. The assistants that... Okay, here's what I'm saying. If like, okay, I'm just wondering how good volume 5 to 8 is then. If A, you just said your least favorite is volume 3, and then you guys are now saying that this is like one of the lower volumes when I've heard nothing but good things from this volume. So now I'm wondering how good volume like 5, 6, 7, 8 are. Okay, interesting. And everything. And furthermore, he could consider extending the recruitments of Backlund Diocese Nighthawks or Keeper to the Gathering. He could then complete the theft through this trader, just like how Emperor Roselle was used to obtain the Antigonus family notebook by Zerthil. I did notice... Okay, well, I'm excited for the ending volumes. I did notice that this one was a lot shorter than number 3. Number 2 I saw was the longest, and then I think it was number 3 and then number 1, and now this one's like, number 4 is a lot shorter than the other ones. Well, not a lot shorter, but like it is probably about 1,000 pages shorter. I've got to frequently head to the cathedral. Only by doing so can I find the target. Klein placed the mirror and he silently nodded. It had to be said that he felt conflicted. If the true Nighthawk or Keeper were to betray the church to serve Mr. Fool, he first thought it was to unleash divine punishment to get rid of the despicable traitor. After exhaling, he gave a self-deprecating laugh. He wore a double-breasted frock coat and hat, walked out of the room, and reached the streets. With an umbrella, he circled to another street, taking advantage of the distant street lamp and the drizzle. He suddenly changed back into Sherlock Moriarty. Glancing at his wrinkled trouser, Klein stopped the carriage and planned on heading to Isengard Stanton's house in Helstonborough. Oh my gosh, we're gonna finally get... Okay. Love this. Half an hour later, the somewhat ancient and dark building appeared before Klein's eyes. He had paid 2 soldi for the ride as he walked steadily around the puddles amidst the drizzle and refracted the yellowest light of dusk before coming up to the famous detective's doorstep. Putting away his umbrella, he reached out and rang the doorbell and waited for a moment before seeing the man with a wide face open the door. The man had a head of malt-colored hair, grayish blue eyes, and high cheekbones. He had the trait of someone from Lenberg or Masson, Mr. Isengard Stanton's new assistant, someone from the Church of God of Knowledge and Wisdom. Klein took off his hat and said with a smile, "Good evening. Is Mr. Isengard Stanton home?" "He is. He just had dinner after a busy day at work." The malt-colored lady replied politely. "May I know who you are?" Klein chortled and said, "Cammy, what does the word chortled mean?" "Tell the good detective that a friend of his has returned from his vacation." The young man was taken aback and blurted out, "Mr. Sherlock Moriarty." Chapter 734. Old friends. Is Klein gonna go get... Oh, it's a kind of laugh. Okay, thank you, Zen. Is Klein gonna go with that money that he has from the bike thing? Oh, it's friends. I forgot the S. I forgot the S on the friends. Because Klein's got more than one friend. He's got a couple. Here's the thing. I didn't dislike Volume 2 by any means. I thought it was good. I just think the other volumes are better. if that makes sense. Yeah. I feel like I have to reread volume 2, maybe. Maybe I'll reread volume 2 when I'm done and like form a better opinion on it. I don't know. It just felt very... It was really long, and I think it was just the way it was translated. It just didn't hit the way that the other volumes did. I don't really know how to explain it. Because I even got a little bit in volume 3. I got like a little bit. There was a moment there where I was like, But yeah. I think I just like one because it had the most grounding character dynamics. Miss Sharon isn't volume 2. Yeah. You know what? Fair. Chapter 734. Old friends. You actually know me. This means that Mr. Isengard Stanton often mentions me as a friend. Or does it mean that the Church of God of Knowledge and Wisdom know that I'm embroiled with the great smog of Backland? Klein smiled as he nodded in an upturned manner. Yes, I am Sherlock Moriarty. The grayish blue-eyed lad immediately gave way as he warmly gestured him in. Mr. Stanton has been worried about you all this time. He was afraid that you met with trouble. He can now be at peace. Klein handed him an umbrella and he took off his hat and coat while walking in. At this moment, Isengard Stanton, who had sensed something, had put down his papers and pipe. He left the reclining chair to take a look. Oh my, Sherlock, you're finally back. It's been so long, my friend. The thin Isengard with grey sides revealed a smile as he came over and welcomed arms in an attempt to give him a greeting hug. Klein wasn't used to such customs, so he forced himself to reciprocate it and smiled. Dude, okay, can we say something really quick? That, I think, is the first hug Klein has had since volume 1. Which is crazy. That's also the first person to call Klein a friend and him actually maybe, like, consider it a friend. That's the first hug Klein's had since volume 1. He hasn't been hugged. He hasn't been touched. He's been touch deprived. All of volume 2 and all of volume 3. Oh my god, my poor baby! Dude, that's also probably the first person in... Do you want to actually know what's crazy? This is also probably the first person that he considers a friend. Like a friend since old Neil. I'm gonna cry. That's so sad. Because everybody else has either been an acquaintance, an accomplice, or a tool used for him to get ahead. Aww. Klein, that's so fucking sad. Klein wasn't used to such customs. So he forced himself to reciprocate a smile. Mr. Stanton, this isn't something a believer of wisdom would do. The bishop and priests of God of knowledge and wisdom had their pride, and they seldom gave greeting hugs. But in fact, apart from the boorish Faesac Empire and the liberal Intis Kingdom, such a manner of etiquette was rare in other countries and regions. It only happened among very familiar friends. Isengard took 2 steps back and chuckled. No, Sherlock, we're never stingy with respect and friendliness. I think here's my thing with that. I think he considered Sharon a friend, but he didn't actually, like, consider... okay. I have thoughts on... I'll talk about it after, but I have thoughts on how Klein views people in his life. And why I think that this moment is, like, actually kind of such a tearjerker right now. No, Sherlock, we're never stingy with respect and friendliness towards intelligent friends. In my heart, you're the one of the top 5 detectives in all of Backland. I like that. Klein smiled inwardly and retorted just, so you're one of the top 3 detectives? To be praised as having true wisdom by a sequence 7 believer of God of knowledge and wisdom was really delighting. I wish that you share the same thoughts as myself. Isengard skillfully and gently replied. Then he invited him to the living room and to the sofa. He He leaned into the reclining chair and picked up his pipe. With a deep breath, he exhaled. I'm very happy that nothing bad happened to you. You seem especially fine. Both in body and mind. How was it? Was Desi Bay fun? Klein had already prepared an excuse as he calmly smiled. In fact, I didn't go to Desi Bay. I ended up going to Constant. I was previously embroiled in some trouble in Backland, so I could only find a place to hide. Sherlock Moriarty was a gentleman from Midshire, who had a slight accent. It was a very normal choice to return to his hometown after causing trouble, consistent with Midshire's capital. I know, Isengard replied heavily. He didn't inquire about the trouble which Sherlock had involved himself in. Instead, he said that with a short smile, in short, welcome back to Backland. Come to me if you ever need any help. Klein didn't stand on the ceremony and immediately said, the purpose of my visit was first because it really has been. The words are really jumbled up here. It really has been a while since we last met. And second, I wished that you can sell my shares in the Backland Bike Company on my behalf. All the documents are in place, and there's no need to carry out any other procedures. In order to act as a mysterious tycoon or repay Messenger with that 10,000 gold coins, not only did he plan on selling items he had little use for, but he also planned on letting go of the last 10% of his shares in Backland Bike Company. After all, Sherlock Moriarty wasn't able to appear in the legitimate fashion for a long period of time. Donuts is amazing. Are you really going to sell it? Isengard stroked his pipe and said, although I've never been a businessman, I can tell that the bike is a product that's of great value and something that can be promoted on a large scale. It's commercial future, and it's like the newly risen sun, and it hasn't yet to reach its limits. You'll be losing plenty of money by selling it now. That's why a buyer would be very willing to raise the price significantly because of the expected value. Klein chuckled. I believe that people who can tell the value of a bike and its future aren't in the minority. The Framis and Leopard are definitely unwilling to reduce any part of their holdings at this stage. There shouldn't be any problem selling my 10% shares at twice or thrice the normal price. Isengard, the pricing of the shares isn't about the present, but about the future. I don't think Klein's talking about bike shares there. To illustrate an alluring story for the buyer and investor in drawing the beautiful future is very necessary. Of course, the value of the future of the bike doesn't require additional input from me. Anyone with any business sense can tell. The only problem stems from the rubber production. Klein silently added inwardly, the pricing of shares isn't about the present, but it's about the future. Isengard softly repeated Klein's words. And after a moment, he sincerely sighed. Sherlock, perhaps you should be involved in the business world. However, there will always be many accidents present. I dare you to take a risk and holy fuck. To dare to take risks is equivalent to chivalry in business. Wow. Oh well, I admit that I've recently been in dire need of large sums of cash, Klein replied with a smile. Isengard picked up his pipe and gave a satisfactory suck. You've convinced me. I will specially hire a lawyer and account to confirm the market value of Backland Bike Company. Then I'll add on the estimate and expected profit and sell that 10% of yours. The corresponding taxes and fees will be deducted from the amount received. Oh, how should I contact you? It seems like your rental contract for the house at Mystic Street has lapsed. Klein obviously wouldn't expose his present identity. He said, having prepared for it, you can post news on the Tussock Times, Backland Daily Tribune, and other newspapers about the sale of the shares to make more people know. Only when the competition would be better price negotiations when it's sold, you can publish a notice to indicate that the deal has been closed and the further inquiries won't be entertained. And when you see the notice, I'll come visit. And when I see the notice, I'll come visit. Isengard was no stranger when it came to communicating over publishing notices in the newspaper. He nodded and said, no problem. Of course, all expenses will be deducted from the final sum received. With the main goal accomplished, Klein stood up and reached out his hand. Thank you for your help, Isengard. I need to leave. We can talk about this in the future. Isengard didn't hold back as he sent him straight out the door. Klein circled to the nearby street and took a carriage to Braveheart's bar as he admired Braveheart's bar's night view in the drizzle. He planned on re-establishing all the news and resource channels where Sherlock Moriarty used to have. After entering the noisy bar, he didn't head for the bar counter to order some beer and make inquiries. Instead, he circled around the boxing ring in preparation to leave, so that he could wait for Miss Sharon to appear in the carriage outside. At that moment, the door to the billiards room creaked open. Ian, with an old coat, walked out to the newspaper in hand. His red eyes did a courtesy sweep as he suddenly noticed a familiar figure. He gasped his mouth, but didn't say his name. He greeted in pleasant surprise. "Good evening, sir. Is there anything I can help you with?" "Not for now. I'm only here to visit an old friend." Klein smiled warmly. As he spoke, he noticed that the papers in Ian's hand was news at the sea. On it was a striking headline. "Shocking. Crazy adventurer made a..." Oh my god, yes. It's like worlds colliding. I love this. "Shocking. Crazy adventurer made a fugitive." Crazy adventurer. Klein intrusively believed that it had nothing to do with him. Ian noticed his gaze and raised the newspaper with a smile. "This is one of the rare up-to-date reports from news from sea because the bounties have already appeared in various places. The crazy adventurer Garamond Sparrow plotted to bring harm on the City of Generosity, and he has been proven to be a member of a cult. In this incident, thanks to the Church of Storms and the military, no one from BAM was injured, but Admiral Blood Sr. was involved in the matter, vanishing as a result. It's suspected that it has now been killed by Garamond Sparrow. Guess how much the I just read it. Holy shit. Guess how much the bounty they're offering for Garamond Sparrow? 50,000 pounds. Klein about to take himself in. Klein's about to make... Dude, if I was Klein, here's what I would do. Paper figurine, take myself in, collect that bounty, pop. That's crazy. I guess he did obliterate a mountain. He did do damage. Like, here's the thing. He didn't... The 50,000 pounds is not deserved. That's just crazy. It's exceeded Admiral Blood's and has almost reached that of Admiral Hell's 50,000 pounds. Klein's heart stirred. He calmed the palpitations in his heart as he replied with a smile. Unfortunately... That was like looking kind of scary. What the fuck just happened? What the fuck? That was actually, I literally did What happened? The whole thing just, it didn't even pause. It just like left. Dude, I thought I was about to die. I was like, fuck, something's after me. Something got me. They finally did it. He calmed the palpitation in his heart and replied with a smile. Unfortunately, few people can claim such a bounty. He pointed at the bar's entrance and said, I'll come to look for you again when I have the time. Alright, Ian didn't ask further as he mentioned in passing, is Mr. White from the Harvest Church your friend? That fellow Emlyn, he finally willing to get out of the house for those primordial moon believers? Klein nodded. That's right. After saying that, he squeezed through the crowd and pushed open the door to leave the Bravehearts bar. After getting out to the rental carriage, Klein cast his gaze outside, awaiting Miss Sharon's appearance. Of course, he wasn't certain that she was here. Months had passed, so it was very possible that the lady and Merrick had switched their area of activity. Silently, Klein's spirituality perception was triggered as he turned to look out the window. On the glass, which could reflect the night view, the young lady in black bonnet and Gothic-style black dress clearly appeared. Dude, that was terrifying. I actually thought I was about to die. I was like, okay. There she goes. Turning his head, Klein saw Miss Sharon sitting opposite him. Her pale blonde hair, blue eyes, and pale expression didn't seem any different from before. Good evening, Klein, who no longer needed to act as Garamond Sparrow, greeted first. Sharon got up a little. Here's the thing. I wonder if Klein feels so relieved now that he doesn't have to act as Garamond Sparrow. Because it was so different. It wasn't so different, but it was like really different from like how he wanted to be. Which, I don't know. I feel like there's got to be something there as to why you portray the characters that you do. Yeah, I'll wait. Realizing that she might have read news at sea, he was momentarily unable to find a topic for small talk. He cleared his throat and directly said, I killed Senior. Okay. Loving Sharon always. Sharon nodded slightly, indicating that she was aware. Klein smiled as he continued. If Merrick still needs a bionic characteristic of a wraith, he can wait and prepare the money needed. Once I find a replacement, I'll send Senior for him. Yeah, because here's the thing. That's why I'm saying, like, I don't think Klein actually has friends, even though he says he does, but he doesn't. Like, that No, literally. I feel like Klein, I wanna laugh, but I can't right now, is just him every time he's in the Tarot Club or Garrett Sparrow, literally anything where he has to do it. Because there's also, like, a whole thing, like, there's... Yeah. Sheridan asked what replacement meant as she replied, after seeing the piece of news, he has been awaiting your return. Very good. Klein chuckled as he reached out for his collar, pulled out the silver necklace, and said, Senior lucky item. You should know all about it, right? Sharon tersely answered as she waited for Klein to continue. I plan to sell either this or the biological poison bottle. Would you or people from your circle be interested? Klein took the initiative to ask. Oh, I didn't change the... did not change the number. Did not change the number. I don't think it's, like, it's not that he, like, has friends. It's just that I've got to get my words together more before I say this. I'll probably just save it, because it also goes into, like, my... it goes into the long theory that I am building up about what I think is happening and what I think is gonna happen, and the underlying meaning behind all of it, which you guys love to hear, you know? Sharon was silent for 2 seconds before she said, I'll help ask. It means you need to consider it, that's right. The negative effects of the scales of luck doesn't leave one hesitant. However, biological poison bottle is really compatible with Wraith. If it wasn't because I'm short on money and how it lowers my immunity, making me easily fall sick, I wouldn't be willing to sell it. It's rather effective in the ambush. Klein vaguely gasped Sharon's intentions as he stuffed the silver necklace into his collar. He asked after some thought, which power of high sequence prisoner pathway beyond her makes all surrounding lifeless items attack one target? Puppet. Sharon not succulently. Oh my god. Dude, I'm gonna do this the entire fucking book. Succinctly replied, it's the power of sequence 4 puppet, turning themselves into a lifeless puppet. So that they're able to control all lifeless objects in a certain range. Advancing further, will they be able to directly influence the mystical item of an enemy? Klein nodded in enlightenment and asked, then, nope, pause, bring it back, read it again. Then, do you know that demigod? He immediately described the details and appearance of the elder who's attacking him outside of Bam. Shanks. Sharon calmly said his name. I actually wished you could share with me more about him. Klein knew Miss Sharon's style, as she said with an exasperated smile. Then, do you know Zatwin? When he was the mentor of the Naturism sex leader in Orby Island, the demigod who was pursuing us, Sharon answered without hiding anything or any emotions, like a doll. That's the one who made me feel like the chairs, tables, and curtains wished to kill me. What a coincidence. However, it wasn't arranged. It just proves that the secret organization of the Rose School of Thought, with the history of over 1,000 years, doesn't have that many demigods. Perhaps it has about the same number as the Royal Order. The number of saints numbered around 5, and the number of angels in grade 0 sealed artifacts number about 2 to 3. Of course, this is also because they were surprised by the 7 major churches reducing their headquarters and colonies. At the height of their power, they might have asked far more than these. Klein's thoughts asked again. Then, do you know the Rose School Thought member that is able to make an entire mountain tremble with just one arm? He planned on describing the arm's traits, but he realized that he hadn't dared to look straight at it. Sharon listened quietly as her eyes darted around as though they came to life, then asked in a clear voice, "What did you encounter? A saint, an angel, as well as a sea king, an Aurora Order demigod, a monster byproduct of the numinous episcopades of artificial death?" Klein silently made a self-deprecating comment as he said with a weary smile, "I got on the bad side of a mother tree of desire, and I suffered an ambush from the Rose School of Thought. Thankfully, I was in Bayham allowing the Church of Storms and the Kingdom's military to take action. I also threw out an item corrupted by the true creator's aura, as well as something related to the numinous episcopate. In short, it was chaos, and I took the opportunity to escape." He replied frankly, apart from hiding the existence of Miss Messenger and Mr. Azek as the matter of the true creator, he believed that Miss Sharon had long known that he wasn't affected by the ravings. This could be explained by the timely psychological interventions of psychiatric treatment. Mother Tree of Desire. Sharon mumbled the name, and a rare emotional upheaval slowly appeared in her eyes. Klein didn't have the interpretation abilities of a spectator, and he was unable to tell what was exactly on in Sharon's mind. He could only sense that she felt a little fear of loathing. Sharon quickly restrained her abnormal reactions, turning back to the extreme exquisite doll. She looked at Sherlock Moriarty and said, "You're very lucky and very mysterious." Klein smiled with a word, never lying nor explaining. Sharon didn't inquire as she said, "You might have met Sua. He is an nope, not saying the word right. Abomination born 922 years ago and claimed to be the son of the chained god. Dude, okay. Fucking add another one. Add another one to the lore. He also a present leader of the Rose School of Thought. No way, the Rose School of Thought sent a leader and a demigod to deal with me. I'm just a mere sequence 5, if not an orange light Hilarion warning. I might have already been captured by the Rose School of Thought." Klein felt a chill run down his back again, and he asked, Is Abomination the name of the prisoner pathway sequence 2 or sequence 1? Probably. Sharon didn't give an affirmative answer. At this moment, without waiting for Klein's response, she said, "William Street has been destroyed." Klein had pondered what kind of reaction he would have had when Miss Sharon raised the topic, so he immediately frowned. "By who? When did this happen?" "The Nighthawk's machinery hive mind about 2 months ago." Sharon had clearly gathered the corresponding intelligence. Klein nodded solemnly and after a deep thought said, "Perhaps we've neglected something. The evil spirit doesn't need us to rescue it. It was still controlling Baronet Pound. Could it be that something happened to the gentleman, incurring the notice of the Nighthawk's machinery hive mind?" Klein offered a guess, filled the half-truths without utmost confidence. Sharon nodded. Baronet Pound died during one of the... Oh yeah. Baronet Pound died during one of his revelries. That's it. That's the end to Alyssa Tudor's final bloodline. Klein thought and said, "How's the situation with William Street at the moment?" Bye. Have a good sleep. Some high-rise buildings are being built. Sharon described... Build a parking lot, man. Sharon described without much of an expression. People monitored it in the streets and began, but the surveillance decreased with time, diminishing to 0 every last month. Klein pondered for a few seconds and said, "Have you gone down to explore it?" Sharon's eyes swept his face. "No. This is remembering our unfit arrangement. To explore it together, we found it together. What a noble-hearted lady. The Rose School of Thought's temperance fractions. It is infinitely times better. Translation's not translating right now. Faction. It is infinitely times better than the indulgence faction. Klein probed. "Shall we go now?" I don't know if that was translation or me. Probably both. All right. Sharon succinctly expressed her stance. Klein immediately instructed the carriage driver as he changed the destination to William Street and the intersection of Westboro and Empressboro. Along the way, he casually mentioned what he heard and saw at sea, as well as the experience that didn't involve any secrets. Although Sharon didn't answer him, he listened attentively and seemingly interested. This made Klein recall the time when he first got to know her as Miss Bodyguard. She sat in the illusory high-back chair in the oriel window's glass. Her right hand held her cheek as she seriously listened to his conversation with Ian. She had great potential for being a spectator. The carriage passed through the silent streets in the dazzle before finally arriving near William Street. Without approaching the area, Klein and Sharon discovered that the area had become a huge work site. After circling the region and matching the underground ruins, they stood behind the huge tree with a lush canopy. Klein said to Sharon, who wasn't drenched by the rain despite not holding an umbrella, let's head down. As the rain fell, they passed through Sharon's blonde hair and body before hitting the ground. All right, Sharon didn't ask how Sherlock Moriarty was planning to heading down with her. Klein reached his hand into his pocket and easily removed the wall of spirituality. He had opened the iron cigar case. Beside him, the figure suddenly appeared. It was none other than Admiral Blunt Sr., who wore a dark red coat and an orange triangular hat. He will head down in my stead, Klein said with a smile. Immediately following that, he controlled the marionette in a composed manner. Senior immediately pressed his hand on his chest and bowed at Sharon. Good evening. I'm honored to work with you. Sharon swept a great... Dude, that must... I couldn't even fucking say anything. What happened to hello? How are you? I was like, dude, I was probably just as confused as Sharon was seeing the fucking Admiral Senior as I was seeing that. I was like, babes, you're in the wrong. This is the wrong area. I don't think you're gonna be getting the support you think you should. You know. It's so funny. That was actually so fucking funny. Can somebody clip that, please? Like, that was... Dude, somebody start playing We Are Charlie Kirk. As for himself, he leaned on the tree, half closed. They're coming after us. They're coming after us. No, literally. Half closed his eyes and seriously controlled the marionette. There wasn't anyone around him, and the drizzle was light and streetlights dimmed. Dude, I wanna find that shit again, because it was... What did it say? It was like, he died for our sins or something like that? I don't know. Slowly Klein found the feeling of being a marionnettist. His vision and Senior vision overlapped with one another as he saw black-brown soil, squirming worms, and meticulous items in between the rocks. As they pressed through the layers of obstacles, they arrived at the region where the ruin once was. The dome ceiling had collapsed and the stone columns had snapped. The area was filled with soil and rubble, looking nothing like it once was. Because he's not helping Venezuela. He is just doing it for the oil. He's using the fact that they had a dictator to steal their oil. Like, two things can be true at once. However, he did just do it to get the oil. I'll say it with my chest. 'Cause it's the truth. Such a scene made Klein believe that the humanoid statues of his 6 deities had been completely destroyed. To his joy, their location was relatively close to the... Homie, here's the thing, my guy. I don't know what you're wanting with this. I mean, pop off, gang. I don't think this is the place to talk about that. Well, I'm just reading a book, which actually stands against everything that Charlie Cook stood for. So, I'm just gonna read. Thank you very much. Exploration would exceed the 100-meter range for the control of his marionette. Amidst the smell of soil and rot, they soon entered the previous menacing room. However, between the rubble and soil, there were only a few signs of crushed bone from rotting clothes. The dark gold and deep blue light from before had all vanished. The bionic characteristics had been taken away by the Nighthawks and machinery hive mind. Senior's expression twitched as he perfectly reflected Klein's mood. Sharon turned around to the dark soil environment and gently shook her head. They didn't send anyone in. That's what I'm saying. I'm not even American. God bless. Or should I say Charlie Kirk bless? They didn't send anyone in. There are no traces of living creatures existing here. That's right. If a living person had entered the existing room over the past half year, a wraith should be able to sense it. Besides, the deity statues obviously cannot be seen by the Nighthawk's machinery hive mind. Where did those bionic characteristics go? As Klein frowned, Senior had a similar reaction. Could it be that the evil spirit wasn't completely obliterated, or had it long escaped? Klein thought about it when he suddenly came to the alarming conclusion. He held back his emotions and made Senior pass through the soil and rubble-filled room with Sharon as they arrived to the spot where their bloody door previously stood, and at that moment, only a few splinters proved that it existed before. After proceeding forward a few meters, with two truly entered the room where the evil spirit was sealed, it was likewise being destroyed and buried. Klein used Senior's body and eyes to look for clues as he flew about. There should be a black high-back chair here. Sharon stopped and pointed at the splinters above the two rocks. Klein instantly recalled the scene as he had once seen in my dreams. The young man suspected of being Medici had sat on the high-back chair. His head dropped low as he thought dead. Sharon didn't pause. She continued proceeding in the compressed soil as search of the traces. Suddenly he spoke again. There should be one here. Another one. A second black high-back chair. Klein floated around in surprise. Chapter 736. Third chair. That's what I'm saying. Senior, in his wraith form, passed through the thick soil and rocks under Klein's control, arriving beside Sharon. He saw a damaged armrest, which had asymmetrical patterns buried there, looking rather similar but also different from the splinters they discovered moments ago. The armrest wasn't pure black in color. Their patterns exuded dark red color as though it was an intersection of iron and blood. Recalling the scene from the nightmare, Klein determined that this was the high-back chair that the entity suspected to be Medici sat on. This was the second chair. The room that sealed the evil spirit had at least two black high-back chairs. Klein and Sharon didn't say a word as they circled around the different directions in search for other clues. Before long, they discovered the evidence of a third high-back chair. It was the leg of a chair, mainly dark red in color, the pure black patterns. It was completely different from the other two kinds of splinters. Perhaps it's problem caused by the asymmetrical trait of the fourth epoch. Klein knew Sharon's style, volunteering to speak and say something even he couldn't believe. In the nightmare that resulted from the evil spirit's influence, the color of the high back chair were at the very least informed. Sharon shook her head slightly. 3 has more of a ritualistic feel. She was implying that the innocent victims, including or not including gun violence, of Blood Emperor Alyssa Tudor were just one person. Back then, perhaps the ritual had been held in a room that sealed the evil spirits. Klein was taken aback by what he heard as a scene flashed through his mind. In spacious, the dark room, 3 high-back chairs, a different style was placed around the particular point of the center, and sitting on each of the chairs was a breathless humanoid creature with a drooping head. Among them included Red Angel Medici. The scene became clearer as Klein instantly connected two additional matters together. The main ingredients for Sequence Zero Black Emperor potion is the uniqueness of two Sequence 1 Beyonder characteristics, excluding one's own Beyonder characteristic. Blood Emperor Alyssa Tudor had apparently forcefully jumped from the Black Emperor pathway subsequence Prince of Abolition to the Red Priest sequence 0, which wasn't a neighboring pathway. As a result, he became half-crazy true god. Interesting. As his thoughts whirled, Klein quickly had a theory. I love it. This room had once held a Sequence 0 advancement ritual needed for a true god. Of course, according to the complicated ritual needed by the Black Emperor, this was only part of the requirement. The pathway that represented war had clearly required the entire continent to be in chaos and at war too much in scale. Hold up, am I reading this right? So for them to advance, they had to have everybody at war. And Blood Emperor Alyssa Tudor didn't have the corresponding Sequence 1 Beyonder characteristics, so his Red Priest potion required 3 Sequence 1 angels or sealed artifacts to provide him with the Beyonder characteristics. There happens to be 3 high back chairs here. Yes, the evil spirit suspected that Red Angel Medici said that to help it escape its seal, the one should find direct descendants of the Sauron, Enhorn, and the Medici family, and then extract 10 milliliters of blood and mix them with holy water. Sauron and Enhorn wield the Hunter pathway and are also angel families of the Red Priest Beyonder pathway. They've existed since the 4th epoch to this day. One of them has already waned, only capable of controlling the spy network and the military factions of Intis, while the other remains a royal family of Faesak. Thoughts flashed through Klein's mind as he had a new belief regarding what had happened in this room, as well as the true identity of the evil spirit. One of the other 2 high-back chairs sat the ancestor of the Sauron or Enhorn family, Sequence 1 angels. Tudor caught the 3 Sequence 1 angels of the Red Priest pathway and used them as position ingredients to become Sequence 0, along with the possible ritual of having the entire continent at war. That's what I'm saying. So the ritual has to have the entire continent at war. One of the other 2 high-back chairs sat the ancestors of the Sauron and Enhorn family, Sequence 1 angels, together with the War Angel Medici, who was very likely possessed the pathway's uniqueness. All the main ingredients of the Red Priest potion were gathered. And the evil spirit is highly likely to not be the pure Red Angel Medici. It might include the remnant psyche and hatred of Sauron or Enhorn family ancestor. Man, this place once sacrificed 3 Sequence 1 angels. Before they died, their curse and ritual itself left effects, making the room become abnormally horrifying as well as sealing it. Thankfully, I reported this to the church ahead of time to let them deal with it, otherwise it might have died here. If we rely on ourselves, it would be the same even if Miss Sharon and I advanced to Sequence 4. We would become food for the evil spirit. Klein felt a sense of fear and joy. Meanwhile, he began to understand the reason why the Red Priest card had landed on the hands of the evil spirit. After all, the former high-ranking members of the pathway were burned here. In the underground ruin, the convergence of the Beyonder characteristics would naturally lure Beyonders to the same pathway over without any divinations. Furthermore, as Roselle once said, whatever separates will definitely converge, and whatever converges will definitely separate. After Blood Emperor Alyssa Tudor perished, the true god characteristic he possessed, which is the Sequence 0 characteristic, will likely split into 4 pieces. Alyssa Tudor perished, and the true god characters he possessed will likely split into 4 pieces. Once the uniqueness and abstract items or concept, while remaining 3 sets of Sequence 1 Beyonder characteristics. If it wasn't because of that, the corresponding Beyonder pathway wouldn't have any more Sequence 1s when someone becomes a god. Could one or two of these sequence 1 Beyonder characteristics be attracted, entering the sealed room? This is likely one of the reasons why the cards of blasphemy are lured over. The more Klein thought, the more he felt that he had previously underestimated the evil spirit. They lived up to being angels who advanced from conspirers. Standing up under the tree, Klein controlled Senior to say, perhaps it really is a ritual. It's related to the Blood Emperor Lista Tutor. The scale and level involved must be great. Sharon added after silently listening, Sauron, Elhorn, Medici. Miss Sharon is also suspecting that the 3 high-backed chairs once belonged to different angels from the detailed request from the evil spirit. Klein thought for a moment as he divulged something through Senior. Blood Emperor Lista Tutor is likely a true god from the Hunter pathway. The card of blasphemy is represented by the Red Priest. Sharon remained silent for a few seconds as she thought and came to the realization regarding certain matters. As she said, the card is gone. She was referring to the Red Priest card, which the evil spirit had formerly showed them. Perhaps the evil spirit had long escaped before the Nighthawk's machinery hive mind destroyed this place. Klein shared his theory, and it had taken away all the Beyonder characteristics in the Red Priest card. Sharon silently surveyed the area and said, it's very crafty. I wouldn't leave behind any obvious clues. That's right, the Beyonder characteristic outside the sealed room are clearly not sequence 4. To an evil spirit who was once a king of angels, they don't have any allure. Likewise for the Red Priest card, it can be understood that it always took the things in the room. But why didn't it leave any? It's like telling others something like, haha, I've fooled you. I've already successfully escaped. Catch me if you can. Wait, perhaps that's exactly what it wishes to convey. As Klein thought, he suddenly found it amusing as he made Senior speak. No, because crafty doesn't necessarily equate to not leaving clues. The sequence 8 of the Hunter pathway is provoker. At that moment, the red angel that surfaced in his mind had the picture of Anderson Hood over it. Sharon listened slightly as she gasped her mouth slightly as she didn't say a word. Similarly, Klein was speechless. He felt that the Beyonder of the Hunter pathway truly had a crystal clear style. In comparison, the red-haired Helen didn't appear anything like someone from the Sauron family. However, she was rather talented at provoking by Sauron element. Yes, back then, the Sauron family members also infiltrated Roselle terribly. Klein silently exhaled as he lampooned. His silent mood was soon broken, but Klein, Senior, looked around and said a joke. Perhaps that's the reason why they were captured and brought here. Who was helping Lista Tutor? Sharon's translucent figure asked, but she didn't seem to look forward to the answer. Perhaps it's the 6 deities? Klein recalled 6 deity statues in the hall. However, he had a second thought. However, the 7 deities supported the Trunzen Empire. The Sauron and Endhorn families were powerful aristocrats of the Empire. Of course, it cannot be ruled out that they first supported Tutor and later had a falling out after he went mad. If it's not the 6 deities, does it mean that there are other deities supporting Lista Tutor? Who would it be? Klein thought in silence. Sauron didn't say any longer as she floated up to the surface, returning to the tree. Klein stored away Senior's wraith, allowing it to enter the gold coin inside the iron cigar case. Then he asked in passing, actually, I've always been curious. Where do the powers of pure evil spirits and wraiths who do not have Beyonder characteristics come from? The spirit world, Sharon answered simply. The conversation beyond characteristics, but the source of Beyonder powers isn't necessarily the same. Yes, perhaps the spirit world itself is the product of some Beyonder characteristics. Klein nodded and looked at the soil beneath his feet. I'll continue investigating the whereabouts of the evil spirit. I'll inform you if there's anything. He planned on asking a Rhodes later. With that said, he looked at the pen and paper, scribbled down the method to summon his messenger, and handed it over. You can write me if there's anything. Sharon received a piece of paper and seriously looked at it. I'll be in the Bravehearts bar. Letter can be mailed to 126 Guard Street, Hillstonborough. Address is to Ma'am Merriam. All right. Klein stifled his pen in his pocket in front of Sharon. He used the ritualistic dagger to create a wall of spirituality and released the iron cigar case. Following that, he crossed the street to stop a carriage like a gentleman, sending Sharon all the way back to Backland Bridge area. After doing this, he returned to the high-end hotel in Hillstonborough midway. He changed his appearance and switched carriages. Bam! Inside the seaweed bar, Donitz, who spent some time drifting at sea, once again stepped back into the city of generosity. He planned on helping the resistance handle some matters. He pressed down on his cap. Krista was caps out in the corner of the bar counter and prepped to first to hear about the recent news. He didn't wish to become a bounty reward due to untimely or inaccurate intelligence. At that moment, he heard an adventurer beside him say to his companion, "Hey, do you think Gairman Sparrow will get someone to claim Admiral Blood bounty on his behalf?" Don subconsciously looked up, looking at the speaker with a blank, confused look. Chapter 737. So, I'm gonna see if I can figure this out myself really quick before I ask it, because I don't want to be bullied. You know how that goes. But I am wondering. No, I think I got it. I'm curious, like, okay, so like if the way that you advance to sequence 0 is so what did I spell wrong? What do you mean? There is an A. I fixed it. So I'm like wondering what is gonna happen for other, like what happens when other people advance to sequence 0 and like their pathways and stuff, because I feel like we'll probably see Klein advance to sequence 0 at some point in the book, probably around the end. So I'm like wondering what he has to do and like what his ritual is to going to a sequence 0. But the other thing I'm also wondering is like, because like Yeah. Why would the madman Gairman Sparrow need to find someone to claim Admiral Blood's bounty on his behalf? That's not right. Why would he need to be able... That's what I'm wondering too, what the sequence 0 of the pathway is. Because here's the thing, at first I was like, oh, it has to do with circuses, not circuses. Circuses, yeah. I feel like it would have to do with something, because, okay, I'm so scared because I feel like I'm going to be told that I'm stupid. So, Klein's pathway and, like, the seer pathway, at first I thought it did have to do with, like, the whole circus theme and stuff, but then I think I said this in the Discord that it doesn't really have to do with, like, the circus theme, and it actually has to do with, or maybe I said it in here, like controlling people and like switches between controlling people and then controlling yourself. So I don't know, because it was 1, 2, shit, what was it? 1, 2, someone, you, someone, you, someone, you, someone, you, someone. So the last one would be like, if my theory is correct, the last one would be controlling other people. So I feel like it would have to be about like tricking other people or like utilizing his skills. So that, I feel like that would have to be kind of what it is. Oh wait, no, because it's sequence 0. So actually it would be you. His sequence 1 would be about other people. Sequence 0 would be about him. Yeah. If that makes sense. That's the only thing I kind of have it. I do also want to see all of Gustav's cards. I wonder if we will get them. I feel like we've got to find a couple. We only have found one. I feel like we'll have to find more at some point. Like somebody, I guarantee somebody's got like a collection, or we're going to find a collection of them at some point. and we're gonna collect all 22 cards. Or maybe not, but I think it'd be really cool if we did. But yeah, that would kind of be my thing with it, you know? Why would he be able to claim the bounty? Donnet suddenly snapped out of his confusion and grasped the crux of the matter. He immediately lowered his head to prevent himself from exposing his shock and confusion. The adventurer beside him continued their conversation. How would that be possible? No one would dare claim it on his behalf. That's right, unless they wish to bear the wrath of the Church of Storms or selling out Gammon Sparrow. 42,000 pounds. If I could receive that sum of money, I'd immediately head to Backland to be a tycoon. Wouldn't you be enjoying yourself in the Red Theater for half the first year? Perhaps Gammon Sparrow can claim it from Intis, Facesack, or Fainter Potter. Although it wouldn't be as much as the 42,000 pounds, it's definitely no way of a low amount. As the adventurers conversed, they began imagining their lives after obtaining 42,000 pounds. They even had a conflict of opinions and began arguing with flushed faces. No way. Are they implying that Garamond has finished off Admiral Blood? No, although that madman always had the intentions of doing so, he lacked the required support that he needed. He needs to work with Captain Anderson Hood. Donnet stood up, pressed down his cap, and kept his head down. He rushed towards the billiard and cards room where there was newspapers placed there. Just as he left, the few adventurers from before looked at his back and spoke in a hushed tone. Do you recognize him? It's obvious that something is wrong with him, how he was acting so suspiciously. I didn't get a good look, but I think he's a pirate who's here to gather intel. Shall we? An adventurer gestured, slicing his hand across his throat. Perhaps it's something we can't afford to often. Let's wait and see. Another adventurer stopped his companion's actions. Donnet entered the empty billiard room, came to the corner, and picked up a sack of newspapers. He quickly flipped through them, and slowly his expression twisted. What did that madman do? He really finished off Admiral Blood. It's only been a few months, and his strength has risen to such a level. Furthermore, the papers didn't even mention Anderson Hood. Donnet was alarmed and thankful that he wishfully closed and to submit in front of Garamond Sparrow. Otherwise, people would have long seen the news of him being hunted in exchange for the bounty money. No. Back then, my death wouldn't have been published. Man, Garamond Sparrow was really a member of a cult. As he thought, Donnet suddenly froze like a statue. That was because he was likely a member of that cult. The church, the military, often likes to exaggerate. Yes, it's a secret organization, not a cult. Donnet consoled himself before having the feeling that the organization backing Garamond Sparrow was surprisingly mysterious and abnormally powerful. The successful hunting of Senior was one of the 7 pirate admirals as evidence. Donnet exhaled as he apprehensively praised the fool inwardly, expressing his desire to handle matters seriously. In a small building near the Governor General's office, Ellen with Oz Kent walked out. It's finally over. Ellen sighed as he wore his captain's hat. Oz Kent rubbed his red brandy nose and added with a sigh, that's right. They had been interrogated while separated for 2 full days because of Garamond Sparrow. They were faced with interrogations who were best at such matters. Thankfully, Ellen had never hidden anything from the beginning. He had reported to the superiors that Garamond Sparrow was of unknown origins, but that he was friendly to the military. It had nothing to do with him, since the decision of making the crazy adventurer an informant, while having the background investigated, was made by the higher-ups. As for Oz Kent, there wasn't any problems at all. He had followed regular protocol in claiming the bounty for Garamond Sparrow. As they slowly walked up towards the entrance of the middle of the garden, Ellen said with a sigh, "Who knew Garamond Sparrow was crazy and powerful? According to the little information they knew, finishing off Admiral Blood was just one of the most ordinary and trivial matters Garamond Sparrow had done that day. And such a crazy person had made the choice of entering the dangerous Banshee to save a few passengers and crew members who had merely expressed their friendship of him." Ellen later learned that the dangers lurking in Banshee had far exceeded his imagination. The Church of Storms had directly destroyed the entire place. I had told the interrogators that Garamond Sparrow had a soft and kind heart, they will definitely think I'm lying. Humans are rarely a mass of contradictions. Ellen silently shook his head. After hearing Ellen's poignant remark, Oz Kent replied with a weary smile. Back then I thought you introduced me to a relatively strong adventurer, but in the end, he even finished off Admiral Blood. Damn it. I think he had the strength to become the 5th king. You wouldn't doubt what I say if you look at the forest and those nearby mountains. It's that place, it's like that place, it's like, Ellen glanced at Oz Kent and finished his sentence for him. It's like it was blasted by a coastal defense more than 100 times over. That's right. Oz Kent agreed with Ellen's description. By then, the two had walked out the main entrance. Ellen looked at the night sky and twinkling stars and the dark crimson moon. After a few seconds of silence, he adjusted his collar and said, "Let's hope he doesn't return to the sea again." But he will! He's gonna come back. I feel like he will. I feel like Garrett Sparrow is gonna get the bounty. He's gonna get the bounty, and then he's just gonna fuck shit up. Cause ain't no way you're creating such a cool character like Garrett Sparrow and then you're not gonna have him around in the book anymore. You're just like, oh, that was it. He's one volume. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Dressed in children's clothes, Denton ran up to the study and said, an elder sister who was practicing her sketching, Donna, they say that Uncle Sparrow is a bad guy. Ah! Oh my god. So sorry for your ears. Donna, they say that Uncle Sparrow is a bad guy, a cultist, and a murderer. They even showed me the newspaper. Donna turned her head as she wrinkled her nose. No way. Uncle Sparrow is a righteous, brave, and kind adventurer. We saw it with our own eyes. These are definitely more reliable than the papers. She hesitated for a moment before eloquently saying, although he had a very terrifying and ugly appearance. I'm about to beat a child. How dare you slander my king like that? Fucking rude. It was the price for his dreams and the power to protect. Denton remembered the papers often liked to fabricate content based on the rumors of hearsay. Yeah, Denton nodded heavily. I've already cursed them. Fuck yeah, Denton. Let's go. Yeah, I know, but like be more specific then, okay? Be more specific then. Don't just say he's ugly. Don't say he has an ugly face to him. He's a beautiful man. Dude, number one Garrett Glazer. Absolutely. Donna praised her brother and subconsciously looked out. She saw that the street lamps had cast their light into the garden. It was tranquil, serene, and gentle. Hillstoneborough inside the high-class inn. Klein folded the white handkerchief and placed it on his left breast pocket. Then he raised his hand to retrieve his top hat. Today was the day for the mysterious tycoon Dwayne Dantes to officially appear in public. No, I know. I'm gonna be fucking elbowing bitches left and right. I'm gonna be like, hey, just so you're aware. Just so you're aware. I know, but I need you to know. Back the fuck up. Back up. I'm gonna get a hose from a fire truck and just start spraying bitches down and be like, back up. That's mine. And also, Donna's, but we can share. He didn't wait for the sale of the bike company shares to a mystical item, and he planned on using the remaining 2,962 pounds he had to cover his initial expenses. This wasn't sufficient. 30-year-old woman yelled at teenage girls. No. Oh my god, I can't yell it. I just realized I'm gonna be a 29-year-old woman. Actually, I have a late birthday. I'll be 28. But I'm still gonna be a 28-year-old woman yelling at children and young girls, young women. I'm gonna be like, that's my man. Starting beef online. Oh no. That's so mean. That's so rude. Why? Oh, he had to cover his initial expenses. This was sufficient. You know what? I'm still doing it. I'll still do it. Here's the thing. They're younger. They're easier to beat up. So that's okay. I'm sorry. This is sufficient, as it was equivalent to 6 and 7. This is equivalent I'll be late 20s. I'm mid 20s right now. By the time Garamond Sparrow is animated and on my television screen, I am late 20s yelling at children about a fictional character. Damn. Crazy. Good news is, no, because I'll be 28, 29. That's late 20s. I mean, I'll take mid 20s. If you want to say I'm mid 20s, fucking go for it. I'll take it. The good news is though, the next one gets released in 2031, and that's when Dwayne Dantes pops up. So at that point, you know, we're close in age at that point. I'm 31. Dwayne Dantes is 30s, so makes a little more sense for me to, you know, stake my claim, I guess you can say. I need to stop. This is sufficient as it is equivalent to the 6 and 7 years of the upper middle class family income. A Rhodes didn't enter my dream last night. He's in his 40s? Why does that make him even hotter? And what does that say about me? Probably too much. A Rhodes didn't enter my dream last night. Yeah, but you entered mine. This means that he's unable to sense my return to Backland without any close contact. That's a good thing. Yes, I'll contact it with the radio transceiver tonight. To inquire about the evil spirits. I won't need to go through this hassle in the future. Klein mumbled inwardly as he held his cane and walked out to the hotel. At that moment, the sun was shining through the thin mist, elating the moods of pedestrians. Chasing a fossil. Oh. 30 and 40 isn't bad. I feel like that's not too bad. Here's the thing. My rule of thumb is I just won't go older than my dad. So I'm in the clear, you know? In a city family servant assistant association, Balin ended a conversation with a male colleague that came to talk to her. She lowered her head to clean up the 2 drops of black tea on her lotus leaf colored dress. Thank you, Zen, you get it. At that moment, she heard a mellow and heavy voice. The time had left marks on it. Good morning, ma'am. Balin hurriedly looked up and towards the reception. He saw a gentleman in his 40s, wearing a tailcoat made of silk and carrying a gold inlay cane. Apart from the 3 buttons on his clothes, there was gold chain, and he knows how to accessorize. That extended into his pocket. The gentleman had a pair of deep blue eyes, and he was good looking. Even the tiny white patches on the side of his hair that added to the air he exuded. Just a smile from him made Balin feel her cheeks turn warm. Dude, my cheeks are turning warm just from reading about him. So, sir, how may I be of service? Right, how may I address you? Balin hurriedly got up and said, Dwayne Dantes. Klein warmly replied with a smile, I wish to hire a butler, a good one. Mr. Dantes, please wait a moment. Have a seat. Balin hurried. He led Klein to the guest area, and she reached out of the point of her cloth sofa. Klein held a smile without rushing or nagging her, and he patiently sat down, awaited the staff to provide him with a list of names of the butlers. What a gentleman. Oh no, I forgot to ask him what requirements he has. Balin raised her hand and touched her cheeks and said, Mr. Dantes, what kind of butlers are you looking for? Klein had already prepared as he replied with a mellow voice, It's best if they have served in a noble family before. This aided Dantes in widening his social circles. Balin gradually grasped her professional knowledge as she said in detail, Such butlers are rare. As you know, nobles seldom change their butlers unless they're unable to provide an effective service. Furthermore, even if they are able for hiring the butler, they're able to fill other positions in noble households. In addition, the wealthy ones often have a considerable desire towards such butlers, and they're willing to offer salaries with a premium. Mr. Dantes, we do have that kind you're looking for, but their annual salary is above £100. This makes it weekly salary about £2 and up. An ordinary butler's annual salary is about £40 to £80, which was 15 solly and £1 10 solly a week. That appears to be the level of tactical worker's salary, but the master will provide room for clothes, charcoal, and other necessities. A butler practically has zero expenditure. An annual salary of £100 and above is really expensive. Klein quickly did the math as he replied, as though he didn't take much notice. No problem, as long as they're good butlers. Chapter 738. Life of a tycoon. Klein's really just playing Monopoly this volume, and I love that for him. I love that for him so much. Please wait a moment. Would you like coffee or Would you like coffee or tea? Balin asked warmly. Klein laughed and replied, I enjoy coffee when I was younger, the rich and fragrant kind, but now I prefer black tea. I prefer black tea as well. Then a cup of Marquise black tea, Balin suggested with a smile. The coffee and tea provided to guests at the City of Family Servant Assistant Associations were ordinarily a quiet, ranging from low to medium equality. Marquise black tea was the tea that Balin had brought from her home to enjoy. Klein wasn't a simpleton, and he was great at observing. Just as he walked into the door, he would take in everything about the surroundings without anyone noticing. He discovered that the coffee and tea container placed in the display case were very ordinary, and he believed that the quality was definitely lacking. Therefore, he believed that the Marquise black tea was likely reserved by an association for VIPs, or it belonged to the lady before him. Regardless, it expressed how sincere she was. He didn't expose her as he smiled. Thank you. You leave me unable to reject your suggestion. How may I address you, ma'am? Balin. Just call me Balin. Balin said with a smile as she resembled a blooming flower. She immediately briskly walked inside, and she selected suitable candidates from her colleagues. Then she returned to the reception counter, picked up a tin counter, and skillfully brewed a cup of black tea. With a good-looking face and a good disposition, while being dressed in a way that speaks volume of my status, I can still sense the friendliness from a beautiful girl, even though I'm middle-aged. Yes, you can. Klein was having such an experience for the first time as he couldn't help but sigh. This made him further understand the importance of a faceless principle of ultimately being yourself. If he didn't keep this in mind and lost himself to the benefits brought about by his appearance, he would keep maintaining the corresponding appearance. I mean, he could. I would complain, resulting in him forgetting or even rejecting his former self, and he would gradually lose his identity. Soon, Balin carried the white gold-rimmed porcelain teacup and placed it in front of Dwayne Dantes. She said with a smile, It still needs some time to cool down. Klein looked down his cup and he said half-jokingly, Perfect. This gives me the time to adjust my mood and more formal face for this cup of black tea. His compliment and gratitude made Balin feel even better. She found him a true gentleman, one who knew his way around words. He's definitely not a believer of the Lord of Storms. Absolutely he's not. That man is not one bit. Balin combed her slightly curly brown hair, and she returned to the room hurrying by her colleague. Before long, she came over with a stack of documents and sat the single-seater beside him. After the screening, we have 3 suitable butlers. I'll briefly introduce them to you. The first person is Mr. Asnia? I think I'm saying it right. A-S-N-I-A? Asnia. After 55, as once served Viscount Yorkville, but after this Viscount had a failed mining prospective investment, his family fell into a particular financial situation, and he had to sell its land and the manors while terminating many of the servants. In the past decade, he was hired by 2 tycoons, and he contributed significantly to the management of their household. As she spoke, Balin's brown eyes sparkled like 2 stars hid in them. She exuded a unique vibe of a teenage girl. Nope. Klein nodded slightly and said, Then why did he leave the 2 tycoons? Balin replied with a smile. The first tycoon invested greatly into Eastbaum, and his whole family had moved there. Mr. Asnia wasn't willing to leave Backlund, so he offered to resign. The second tycoon's health isn't too good, and he had handed the business family to his son, who was the butler he trusted more. Mr. Asnia, as a believer of the Evernight Goddess and his political inclinations, is with the Conservative Party. He expects an annual salary of £130. May goddess bless him. Klein tapped the 4 spots clockwise manner on his chest, forming the sign of a crimson moon. Balin's eyes lit up as she asked, Mr. Dantes, are you a believer of the goddess? Of course. Klein nodded a smile without explaining further. It's no wonder he's so gentle. Balin praised inwardly as she continued introducing. Mr. Raybach. Yep. I'm going to say that. Age 45. He once served the Negan family, and he... Wasn't the Negan family the Negan that was killed? Or was gonna be killed? I can't remember now. Was he killed? He was killed. Yeah. Family, and he was the deputy butler for a long period of time, as well as the assistant to the butler. Later, after the transaction, yeah, he became Baron Sandry's butler. Okay, it is that one. Shortly after, it literally says it right here. Shortly after Duke Negan was assassinated, Mr. Raybach, whose contract came to an end, didn't receive the new contract from the Baron, so he had no choice but to seek our help. He's not a staunch believer of the Lord of Storms, and his personality is without problems. His political inclination is with the Conservative Party. He expects an annual salary of £120. Okay. Klein listened silently, nodding for time to time as he responded, but he didn't cut off Balin's description. Balin flipped through the documents and took a few glances and spoke again. The third person, Mr. Walter. He's age 42, and he had been the land steward and assistant butler to Viscount Conrad's household. Due to certain matters, he had a conflict with the butler, and he chose to leave. He expects an annual salary of £115. He's a believer of the Evernight goddess. Let's go. His political inclination is with the new party. Let's go. Orby's Island new Governor General is a member of the Viscount Conrad's family, and the family pledges loyalty to the royal family. The relevant information quickly flashed through Klein's mind. After the introduction, Balin handed over the stack of documents. Mr. Dantes, do you wish to continue? Klein fell silent for a few seconds before saying with a smile, let's do this. Let all 3 of them come to where I live tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'll meet them and have a chat with them to make my final decision. He knew that such associations didn't provide lodgings, and it was purely an agency. Even if he made a selection right there and then, he still had to wait until the afternoon or tomorrow to see his butler, therefore. He decided to have a small interview to select the person that matched his intentions and best. No problem, Balin said with a smile. May I know your address? Klein slipped the back key, packed the pen and paper from the table, and wrote down the location and the name of the hotel he was staying in. You just came to Backlund, Balin blurted out in question when she saw it. Only then did she realize that Mr. Dwayne Dantes' skin was slightly darker than normal. It was slightly bronze-colored, seemingly the result of tanning. He gave him quite a rugged flavor. Yes, he doesn't have a Backlund accent. Balin slowly recalled more details. Klein smiled. I came from Desi Bay. I'm waiting for an excellent butler to help me seek out my suitable house and servants. After handing over a £3 deposit, he politely drank another sip of black tea and got up to bid farewell. Balin sent him all the way out to the door and watched him board the carriage. Mr. Dantes also seemed to be a tycoon. Compared to that, he's bearing the gentlemanliness are even more charming. Balin stood in her spot as she casually thought. On the carriage, Klein half closed his eyes as he leaned against the wall, and he couldn't help but calculate the subsequent expenditures awaiting him. The butler would cost around £120, taking into account the average cost. The valet would cost £35, the chef would cost £30, the gardener would cost £25, the carriage driver would cost £25. Holy shit, he better take in the bounty. The nursery governess, £20, 3 ordinary ladies' maid £15, and 3 maidservants £10. This way, just the servants alone would cost £330 a year. It's equivalent to £6, 7 solly a week. That already exceeds my salary back at Tingen. Furthermore, I'll need to have a carriage which costs about £3. I need a gardener and a house, and a weekly rental fee is about £2 with all the food, clothes, and charcoal expenditures for all these people, and overall cost is ridiculous. Is this the life of a tycoon? So you know how I was saying Klein was getting money last volume? Does he better end up having like a lot of money after, you know? Like I want to see a rich like Klein, you know? Klein suddenly felt a little regretful for choosing such a persona. I'm not regretful, Klein. You might be. I'm not. He exulted as he tried hard to ignore the matter. He took a carriage to Phelps Street in Northborough. There was a pure black cathedral here with a clock tower on each side, producing a symmetrical beauty. This was none other than the headquarters of the Backland Diocese and Church of Evernight Goddess, St. Samuel Cathedral. Klein adjusted his handkerchief on the left pocket, held a gold inlaid cane, and strode to the cathedral and walked down the quiet aisle. Under the sunlight, which penetrated the colorless glass panes, he came to mainly prayer hall. It was very dark, making one's mood automatically turn peaceful. Klein casually found a spot, leaned his cane, and took off his hat. He then closed his eyes and prayed. Time passed. After listening to the preacher, he slowly got up and walked to the altar and bowed at the bishop with short black hair. Then he walked to the donation box by the side. Exhaling silently, Klein took out two 10-pound notes. Klein, that's a lot of money. And 6 5-pound notes and stuffed it inside? Holy shit. The bishop, I guess he has to do it. I guess he has to, like, you know, get their attention and do everything. The bishop caught the sight through the corners of his eyes and expression couldn't help but turn soft. Typically, unless they specially solaced for a donation and received donations from the diocese will, the cathedral donation box received 10 pounds at most. This meant that the person was a tycoon, a rich person. Oh my god. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Okay, this will probably be my last chapter. Maybe one more. It depends. I was gonna stop at 7:40. Maybe I'll do 2 more. I'll do 7:39 and then also 7:40. I'm trying to think who would be a good voice actor. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking a good voice actor for him would be someone like... Oh! What's his name? What's his name? I'm gonna figure out his name really quick. Because it... Not Javier Bardem. Who is it? Is it Javier Bardem? It's... Oh, fuck, I can't remember his name now. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm really surprised I was able to. I'm gonna make this look nice. I think it is it. I'm gonna get the actor I think would be like in my dream who would like voice him. You know? Fuck. I'm gonna get it after. Why am I dreaming of Dwayne Dantes? Why am I not? That's the real question. Why are you not? Why am I? Why are you not? Chapter 3, 739, the encountered and the yet to be encountered. In the main prayer hall of Saint Samuel Cathedral, the black-haired bishop retracted his gaze and stopped looking at the middle-aged gentleman in front of the donations box, nor did he have any intention of chatting with him. Here before the holy altar, he repressed the church and he said, under the goddess's sight, he couldn't show more warmth towards anyone because of their generous donations. However, he remembered the gentleman's good looks and mature, refined disposition. He planned on attempting to get to know him when the opportunity arose in the future. Seeing the final note slip into the donation box, Klein closed his eyes and turned to leave. Probably closed his eyes and just like, you know, probably just did one of those before he left. When passing the preaching bishop, he deliberately glanced at the clergyman and smiled with a nod. The bishop returned the warm smile as he tapped his chest 4 times clockwise fashion. Klein wasn't in a hurry to make contact with the reverend personnel. He needed his actions to adhere to logic and not to have any jarring actions. This would incur suspicion. He silently and coolly turned to the side and gave way to another devotee, and he made his way down the aisle back to the seat. He then packed up his hat and cane before walking out of the cathedral.
At that moment, with the preaching done, the devotees either went forward with the donation box to express their sincerity, or they got up to leave out feeling there was anything wrong. After all, it wasn't compulsory. Even the devotee who passionately donated was unable to donate money every time. It usually depended on the family's exact situation, doing it once or twice every week. At the level of commoner, each donation was the form of pennies, while middle-class devotees ranged from 3 to 5 sol. The wealthy and nobles used pounds, but they didn't exceed 100 pounds. This was under ordinary circumstances during the Evernight Goddess Holy Memorial Day every year, which was the Winter Gifts Day. The amount donated would increase several times. The commoners with a little bit more cash would spare would choose 2 to 3 solli, while the middle class donated around 5 pounds. As for the members of the high society, they directly donated to the diocese bishop or the church charitable organizations, ranging from several hundred pounds to a few thousand pounds. Winter Gifts Day was the day of the year when the night was longest. It was believed that the beautiful of the Evernight Goddess. After leaving the cathedral, Klein stood up in the square outside. He watched idly as pigeons flew up, circling around and landed. He even brought some food from the nearby street hawker. He leisurely fed the pigeons, and he had no plans on flipping through the advertisements in the newspaper to find a suitable residence in Northborough, since it was a butler's mission. An excellent butler that had resided in Backland for many years had ought to know the different nobles and tycoons, as well as the best middle-class individuals who could provide the masters with help. He would know which streets to live in, and from their purposefully chosen the residence, and it was believed to be the birthday of the Evernight Goddess, who said the beautiful. I did. I read it though. From their purposely chosen the residence. The interaction between neighbors was the first step towards newcomers in entering the relevant cities. Being it was the Charleston Club, where members of the Conservative Party gathered, the Club of the Free and the New Party, or the various in-service and veteran clubs of the military, they were required for recommendations. Before any contact can be made, this is also a so-called club politics in the kingdom. Klein, what way is he going to lean? Klein reined in his thoughts as he considered what he should do after he was done setting up the pigeon feeding persona he created. After careful consideration, he discovered that there was really nothing. He's beekeeping age. He discovered that there was really nothing that needed his immediate attention. This was because his plans were stuck on the surface. Hence, he planned on enjoying an expensive and sumptuous lunch. This was the action Dwayne Donitz ought to have, and it was also a result of Klein's own curiosity. In the months when he was in Backland, he didn't manage to muster the courage to head to the most famous restaurant in the big city to broaden his horizons. He kept choosing one of the 4. His own dining hall, the buffet cafeteria at the Quella Cub, or the ordinary restaurants by the streets, the lawyer Jurgen's dining hall. Otherwise, he would head to Eastborough and settle his breakfast and lunch in what seemed like a very oily coffee shop. Labori restaurant. The head chef is said to be from Earl Hall family. From Earl Hall's family, he had provided tycoons, successful lawyers, high-rank government officials with unusual hard-to-come-by flavors. Earl Hall had apparently invested in this restaurant and holds quite a major stake in it. The restaurant mainly serves local Backland cuisine. It's very famous for its desserts, but its price is horrendous. Intis Sorenzo restaurant. It serves the most authentic Intis cuisine. I want to go to Intis! Many of the specialty dishes use Roselle's name, claiming that it originated from the Emperor's Palace dishes. Besides, it's not like the most of the restaurants of the same class, where they only offer a few main dishes every day. It has a wide variety. Klein recalled the information at the top of the restaurants he had from the papers and the magazines, and he finally decided on trying out the Emperor's Palace dishes. He didn't stay long as he got on the horse carriage and headed to the Intis Sorenzo restaurant in the Westborough. At the entrance, Klein handed his coat and hat to the cane to the red-vested waiter as he asked, "Are there still any available seats? I didn't make a reservation." "Yes, sir." The red-vested waiter didn't show any abnormal behavior as he humbly asked, "Sir, is this your first time here? Are you alone?" Klein nodded frankly and smiled. "Yes. Then, maybe I have the honor of introducing you to some of our most unique dishes and fine wine that our restaurant has to offer." Oh, I could go with him. As the waiter spoke, he led the guests in. That's exactly what I need. Klein passed through the beautiful decorated door, and he saw walls of nearly reflected golden light. Instantly, he felt as though he was in a gold vault. Then he noticed oil paintings hung on the wall, marble statues that were in place of suitable locations, as well as golden objects that were embedded or adorned in different spots. To fancy France so much. I don't know, I feel like it'd be a cool place to visit, you know? There's a lot of history there. It would progress the plot forward. You know, I don't know. People seem friendly. Please watch your step. The attendant warned him and led Klein to the spot by the window. Violin music played in the background of the restaurant. Hold up. Here's the thing. Do we not all, like, do we not all, though? That's the real question. There you go! Harsh literally said it! Harsh literally said it, too! I didn't even read it. Yeah. These are the most famous dishes. Red braised Taggia beef, short ribs, black truffle, porcine mushrooms, Inta-style foie gras, and would like to point out that our foie gras comes directly from the Bonars farm of the Champagne province in the Intas kingdom. Oh no, so it's literally just France. Okay. Cool. As Klein listened... Dude, go after both. I don't know. Father and daughter, why not? Hell, throw in son there too. Do the whole family. As Klein listened to the waiter's introduction, he browsed through the menu written in ancient Fasek as the priest caught his eyes. I mean, I don't know. After introducing the main dishes, starters, and desserts, the waiter began explaining what the wine should match. Finally, he said, the champagne, red wine, and white wine all have come from the famous brewer of the Champagne provinces. No, I'm not gonna say that. Champagne provinces. What can... 126 pounds. I can already hire an excellent butler with that. Klein smiled. I haven't been saying anything bad. I actually have not been saying anything that bad at all. I've been actually really good, you know? Your dishes and wine are excellent, and it's really difficult to choose. The red-vested waiter gave a hospitable smile. You can choose the chef's recommendation. Look, all I'm saying to the whole family, what can I say? They call me family dinner. Oh my god. I need to shut up. I need to stop. Your dishes and wine are excellent. They're really difficult to choose. Bro, this is gonna be a long fucking volume. I'm so sorry, David. The red-vested waiter gave a hospitable smile. You can choose the chef's recommendation for the day. It will be an authentic and delicious Intis meal, arranged by our main chef. Recommendations for the day will be an authentic and delicious meal, Intis meal arranged by our main chef. There are 3 choices, 15 pounds, 10 pounds, and 8 pounds. Go with the 15 pounds. Go with the 15. Do it.
I don't want any of them. Klein leaned back slightly and smiled. I'll have the 15-pound set meal. All right, the red-vested waiter took away the menus and he walked towards the kitchen. Klein drew a breath and slowly exhaled as he cautiously observed the area before him. Suddenly he saw a familiar figure. It was a lady wearing an olive green dress. She was tall with an excellent figure. She wore a black, out-of-fashion bonnet and the fishnet veil hanging down, concealing her face. Get the text-to-speech to read again? I know. Because here's the thing. I was making comments, but I wasn't making as many comments when I, wasn't the one reading it. Now that I'm reading it, I'm like, As a faceless Klein had a strong ability to discern the external characteristics of human, he immediately identified the lady. Queen Mystic Emperor Roselle's daughter, Bernadette Gustave. Oh my god, speak of the devil and they shall appear. What can I say? She's getting ready for dinner. No, stop, Dara, stop. He wasn't in a rush to look away as he naturally moved his gaze to the side. Bernadette didn't seem to notice anything abnormal. She had disappeared around the stairwell. Why would she appear here? Right, the restaurant specialty in Emperor Roselle's dishes. It's nothing like the Chinese cuisine I thought it would be. He probably doesn't know how to cook it at that best. As able to describe the concept, there are stir-fried dishes here. Could the owner be behind the scenes actually be her? Why is she here in Backlund instead of floating out at sea? Hasn't she found hero bandit Black Emperor? Klein sat down in a calm expression. Questions arose in his mind. Meanwhile, in the street carriage. Was driving towards the Intis Sorrento restaurant. Sitting in the carriage was Aaron Cressus family, the famous surgeon and a member of the... Oh, I remember this guy from Volume 2! Quillid Club, a good friend of Sherlock Moriarty. He had once sought out the detective to handle Will Septon's matter. Even since his wife became pregnant... Oh my god, they're gonna have baby Will. He found out luck had become rather good. His business was improving by the day. His income was rising by the month. He recently successfully completed Baron Sandry's surgery. Yeah. Then he received a commendation of his newly promoted noble. He was invited to the Sorenzo restaurant to have lunch with him. It's said that the ice cream is pretty good. Aaron smiled to his wife. The wife was a black-haired beauty, and she was obviously pregnant. She smiled demurely and said, I'm more looking forward to Emperor Roselle's palace dishes. Aaron tersely acknowledged as he looked out the window. We're almost there. Just as he said that, his wife held her tummy and frowned. It hurts a little. Aaron, who wasn't a first-time father, immediately checked on her and didn't discover any problems, but his wife was feeling greater discomfort. The child in her room seemingly be pulling a tantrum. I think I won't go over there. I wish to return home and rest. Aaron's wife suggested. Aaron thought for a while and said, I'll accompany you home. Oh my god, so they almost met Gehrman. And that seemed pretty coincidental that he decided to throw a tantrum just as he was about to see him. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Aaron thought for a while and said, I'll accompany you home. He immediately ordered his valet, get down here and head to the restaurant and apologize to Baron Sanders on my behalf. After the carriage began to return, the discomfort of Aaron's wife, Stuffled, was relieved. By the time she walked through the doorstep, everything was normal. She pointed to her tummy, exasperated. It appears like he doesn't want to eat ice cream. Achoo. In the Intis Sorrento restaurant, Klein who hadn't bared any dish, felt the pinch heat, but began to enjoy his ice cream in satisfaction. Midway, he found his nose itchy and sneezed into a piece of tissue paper he pulled out. I know, that's what I'm saying. He sensed Klein, and it was coincidental, and he was like, I don't want to go there yet. Westboro in the dark house. I said I'd be nice. Fours, who had already advanced to astrologer, participated in all kinds of Beyonder gatherings. Search of the possibility to earn money. She owed Geo 220 pounds, and she was even suspected by her good friend of being involved in illegal gambling. I can't even afford to buy my central crystal ball. As her thoughts wandered, Forrest suddenly heard a member of the gathering say, I wish to sell a moon puppet. Let's fucking go. Okay, chapter 740. We're gonna stop here. Kemi, just let me have that, okay? Just let me have that, you know? We don't need to nitpick at everything that I say
Sometimes I just say things, as we can tell. We're gonna end here. Thanks so much for coming. I hope that this kind of showed you what volume 4 is gonna be like. If this was any indication. Really excited for it. So sorry, David. Anyway, thanks so much for coming. We're gonna go back to regular scheduled programming, and I'm really excited for the chapter. I have thoughts and ideas on kind of what's gonna go down. I'm interested to see. I think, like what I said was, I think that we're gonna have a lot of loose ends that get like cleaned up to do with the Lowen Kingdom and Backland and everything that we've had go on in these last 4 chapters. And I'm wondering if at the end of chapter 4, we kind of not finish all of them, but like move on to something else. And like a lot of this starts to wrap up. And then like just build the building blocks for the final kind of stretch of volumes, which I'm curious about. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens. All I know is I'm excited for this volume. I know... What do you mean trial? Am I on trial for something? Did I do something? I don't think I did anything, you know? But I think other than that we're good. But I am curious. I think we're gonna get more Leonard, which I'm really excited for. I think we're gonna get more Dally. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that I'm saying. Would you guys expect anything less? You know? Like, we spent a whole volume together. All of volume 3. We went through Gehrman Sparrow together. You're gonna introduce someone like Dwayne Dantes, Bernadette, Roselle's still in the picture. We got Azek. We got Gehrman Sparrow still kicking around. Like, you know? I don't think Audrey's dying this volume. I think this volume... Who do I think is gonna die? I'm wondering if they're gonna kill off... which I don't want them to do, but I wonder if they're just gonna kill off Melissa and Benson at some point. I don't know if they'll do it this volume, but I have a weird feeling that Melissa and Benson are gonna die. You know? And then also, I think that, like, actually, though, this volume, they're probably gonna kill off... It is somebody that appears in the same volume. I'm trying to think who it would be. I don't think we've met them yet, because we normally meet them later on, you know? But at the same time, I do wonder if it's gonna be like... I wonder if it's gonna be his butler. The butler that he gets, I wonder if his butler's gonna die. That's gonna be really sad if that happens, because we're gonna get super close to him. And then they're gonna kill him off. Which I'm feeling unwell about. But we'll see. I don't think Azek dies yet. I don't think... The butler did it. I don't think Azek dies. I think Azek dies at the end. Because I think Azek is like his 8th lesson. You know? Just before that. I don't want people to die. I just don't expect anything less. I think Azek dies is the second to last person to die before Klein. Because he's like that. Yeah. So I'm wondering if it's gonna be something there. Harsh, how about you manifest yourself shutting the fuck up? Don't ever put that on, don't ever let me read that. I love Leonard. I'll be a Leonard defender till the day I die. Yep. Zen, what the fuck? Why are we doing this? No. I want Leonard back. I want more. Yeah. So that's all I got, but thanks so much for joining. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And I'm done. You thought what I said was out of pocket? Watch your guys' fucking mouths. Leonard is
one of the best characters in the book. And I'll stand by that. I'll stand on that. Yep. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for coming, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.